Well, good morning, colleagues and friends. Good to be here with you this morning. What we hope to do here is reiterate a lot of what we heard last session, and I think what we've heard in other sessions as well at this conference. But we'll start with some quick introductions. We have some interactive features, so you will need Slido, your phones, for this panel discussion. And we want to answer questions around cross-functional collaboration. So the first thing we'll look at is, what are the challenges? What do you think are the challenges? We'll talk about and give some examples of what we have identified ourselves, and then what to do about it as well. What are some of the best practices and efforts that we can make to improve those? And hopefully you'll walk away with some takeaways that are impactful for you. Okay. So, as you heard, I'm Bill Neal. In my most recent role, I served as Vice President of Sales Operations and Enablement for a manufacturing company called Transonic. I've been in sales and sales leadership for 34 years, and sales operations / enablement the last few. And other companies I've been with, Newell Brands, which you know is Rubbermaid and Mr. Coffee and Sharpie, and many years with Procter & Gamble as well. What? Amy?
Thank you so much. Good morning. My name is Amy Orr, and I lead the sales training and enablement efforts at DoorDash. My team supports just over about 1,800 sales executives across enterprise, SMB, onshore, and offshore, so never a dull day. I got my personal start in tech in HRIS sales, but before that, I actually started my career doing marketing for the NBA. So big sports fan, and I can tell you that I love sales enablement because it's literally a combination of both of those things.
Wonderful. I am a big supporter of DoorDash. My name is Alyssa Draper. I am the Director of Sales Enablement at Hologic. That's a medical device company. We are the global leader in women's health. So you may not be familiar with the name Hologic, but ladies, for your annual well women's visits, for mammography, for pap smears, different things there, you've likely encountered Hologic. I got my start in sales enablement from being a medical device rep. I was previously selling for Stryker orthopedic sports medicine implants. And show of hands if you got into enablement because your training was non-existent and you thought that you could do it better. So I kind of informally was a rep who was very lost. So I was calling veteran reps, I was asking them to give me their knowledge, their expertise, and started setting up sales rookie calls because we didn't have a sales enablement function. So that led into a formal sales enablement role, setting up sales enablement, and now jumping over to Hologic last year and leading a phenomenal team of talented sales reps, now turned enablers in the global women's health space. So thank you. Excited to be here today.
Excellent. Good morning. Robert Johnson. I work for a company called PAM, based out of Sydney, Australia. So in terms of collaboration and teamwork, let's just say it's an ongoing challenge on a daily basis with dealing with massive time zones. I have been in tech sales and leadership roles, have been really with 3 tech companies from very early on all the way to growth to acquisition on a couple occasions, have experienced building and being part of sales enablement teams, working with product teams, working development teams. From a sales side, I'm typically the one requesting a lot of information and working with sales enablement professionals like yourself. So far this conference for me has been incredibly enlightening, and I feel lucky to be in the room with everyone here. I've really taken away a lot. So looking forward to the panel discussion and hope to bring maybe a slightly different angle on the conversation today.
Nice. Thanks, team. So we thought we would start, as we considered this topic, we thought we would start by sort of defining sales enablement, but from the perspective of each of our perspectives, right? And so the starting place, I thought, is, hey, how about what the Sales Enablement Collective says that sales enablement is? So that's the definition you have on the screen here. But we'll each give a thought on that. So As you heard me say, Vice President of Sales Operations and Enablement, I've always been part of sales operations and or led sales operations with enablement as a component within that. So think sales strategy and planning, sales performance management, the sales tech stack, right? CRM, BI, and then sales enablement as a key pillar of the teams that I've led and have been a part of. So within that, then enablement, of course, encompasses these things: coaching and training, and the assorted tools. One of the challenges: where do we distinguish on the tech stack between what is more operational and what is really more enablement? But anyway, Amy, your perspective on sales enablement?
Yeah, so my team sits on the sales strategy and operations organization, or sits in the organization, and so we have the benefit of having some pretty incredible internal partners in sales planning, sales analytics, sales compliance. So in my opinion, we get to do kind of the fun stuff in sales enablement, and this definition really hits it for my team. It is a big focus on coaching, new hire onboarding, really building a strategic enablement tech stack and enabling people to actually use it. So this really hits the nail on the head for us. We are obviously have a lot of external cross-functional partners that we're going to talk about today: product marketing, go-to-market, technology, et cetera. But yeah, this kind of hits it for us. How about you,
Alyssa?
Yeah, so I think as we think about, what is and what isn't enablement, and you think about who your cross-functional partners are, in my last role with sales enablement, I reported directly into the VP of sales, and now at Hologic, I report directly into the VP of marketing. So that kind of adds in a new layer of you're educating your cross-functional peers if you're not directly aligned to them. But I always like to start with both my current role and my previous role. It was sales training. So like, oh, cool, we're calling it sales enablement now, but it's new hire training, right? Yes, and it's this. What if we take that brand new hire, we make sure that we give them structured, meaningful onboarding, we build on features, benefits, the products that they need to know, but then we actually teach them how to sell. But I like to educate that enablement is ongoing education. It's matching education and needs for every level of tenure, and then absolutely with the coaches. So sales training, new hire training, what happens then for the manager? What happens then for the individual who's interacting with that sales professional more often than any type of digital asset or classroom training is? So I like to really delineate between new hire training. Yes, onboarding is a critical piece, but sales enablement is really more. It's continued education development. It's matching whatever type of education a rep now will be ready for. They've graduated to the next layer of not just knowing their products and going for that lower hanging fruit, but now they can have higher level conversations and dive into negotiations with the C-suite. So I see sales enablement as continued education and development for kind of every level of tenure for our sales professionals and sales leaders.
It's interesting that you talked about that. We actually just rebranded our team last year. We were formerly sales training and have since rebranded to sales training and enablement to really fully encompass all of those things that you just talked about.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and we are doing so much. It's funny to be at a sales enablement collective and a summit where you're not like, oh, so I'm in sales enablement, and here's what sales enablement is. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm with peers who understand what sales enablement is. So you're constantly educating and coaching, and like, I'm always ready with my elevator pitch.
We do more than new hire training.
Yes. My peers would always make fun of me. They're like, wow, every call, are you going to tell us what sales enablement is? I'm like, sure am. Yeah.
That's right. Robert?
Yeah, when I saw this slide and was preparing for this, the first thought that came to my mind was kind of a glass half full reaction, actually. And it was, and the context for this comment is most of the company I've worked for have been really small. Like the current company I'm at now is only 15 employees. The company I was at 15 years ago when I started was 30, and we grew to 500. So I got to see sales enablement be created and be implemented. And so when I reflect on this question, I think about what is sales disablement? Like how many things in my sales career have been implemented and rolled out that disabled me to sell things? I know the intention was always positive. Like, hey, we launched a new product. here's a new one-pager or two-pager. We're going to educate the team on it. We're going to have a sales meeting, and the enablement individual would come teach us all of this, and sometimes I'd walk away feeling more disabled to sell this product or to talk to a prospect about it than enabled to do it. And so often the sales team back then, we called it the sales disablement team. The other thing in terms of disablement is sometimes new information would be taught or educated to the sales team, and half the sales team and organization wasn't even engaged because we knew that in 90 days everything that was being taught would just be go out the door. Right. And so we were the rollout of sales enablement, the ability to educate, the timing of those things helps me understand like what really is sales enablement and what is not sales enablement.
It's fun to discuss and think about, right? All right, here is to you. Here is our first piece of interactivity in this panel discussion. So we have the QR code for Slido on the screen there. Please pull out your device and answer this question in one word. State the most common barrier that you see to collaboration between other functional areas. So between sales, product, marketing. What is the one word that really sticks out to you? That's a barrier to collaboration.
Timelines. Ego.
Time zones.
Wow. Robert can relate to time zones.
We've got some strong opinions on there.
Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know the time zone in Sydney, next week is daylight savings time. So 8 a.m. is 5 p.m. here. So last night I was on the phone sitting in the lobby till 5:30 p.m. wrapping up the morning over there.
Alignment in silos. I feel that. Yep.
Right. I think so. As we dig into some of these, we see a lot of overlap, of course, with your reactions to this and your comments with what we've discussed and come out with as well. Surprisingly, team, well, the alignment's growing now. I see as we get more responses here, but that was a big one. In fact, if we go to back to the slide deck, so let's remember some of those: alignment, communication, right, collaboration. We see misaligned goals. So misalignment really rose to the top of the list for us to the point where it's listed twice on this slide, right? Misalignment between goals and KPIs and a lack of alignment with leadership as well, right? So let's talk about alignment first of all. Amy, did you have is it your comment on alignment with go-to-market strategies?
No, we have absolutely no challenges when it comes to alignment. I think two things when I think about alignment. One, it's the just sheer volume of competing priorities. Everybody is gold on different things and has different P0s, and that changes and evolves every single day. The second thing I think for us is just the push-pull of speed versus quality. So, our GMs set really, really incredible and really lofty goals. And our merchant strategy and operations group, our sales strategy and operations group, we want to ship things quickly so we can get our sales teams out there and get them selling and hit these goals. But then our product and our marketing groups really want to be sure we're doing it right? We want to take the time. We want to do these focus groups. We want to pilot things. We want to be sure we have all of this accurate information so that when we do go to market, it is effective. And there is really just this constant push-pull of which one are we going to prioritize? Is it speed to go to market, or is it a high level of quality?
Very good. Did you have a comment on this, Alyssa?
Yeah, I think just echoing that piece, we've got field-based reps, and it's get them in, get them selling, get them to new hire training, HQ training on week one, on day one. And it really is that push-pull of, hey, we can have an individual that sits through my team puts on a phenomenal headquarter training. If that individual hasn't done some pre-work, if they haven't built some of that foundational knowledge through online, field-based, peer-to-peer learning, them sitting through that new hire training at week 2 is going to be so much time not well spent. So it's really educating them. And I think that's where we as enablers need to feel really confident about the methods and why we do things the way that we do it. Hey, regional manager, I know that you need your rep to be selling in this vacant territory ASAP and performing some revenue generating activities. I promise you that by putting them in the field, letting them even just sit and be an observer in some of these surgeries, I know my kind of sales role and marketing role is unique, but if we're letting them see these, that would also be in tech. If you're letting them listen to sales calls, if you're letting them get some understanding, then when you dive into a headquarter training, then when you're giving them those tools, it's, oh, here's the aha moments. Here's now how I'm applying that to my customer base. Here's how I'm building on this. So I think it's really being confident that there's a method to the madness, and we're almost going slow to go fast. I promise that when we keep that new hire out of training for that 2 months, we require 2 months of in-field learning before they're invited to new hire training. Then they're going to leave that, and now they're going to go out and sell. It's not going to be, okay, they've got a new hire training that they sat through. Now they're trying to connect dots and learn that afterwards, and now they're effective at 6 months. It's really being firm of kind of why we set these structures in place. And again, it's always influencing and educating and getting buy-in from stakeholders along the entire way.
That sounds impactful. Robert, I want to bounce this idea of misalignment to you, but from an alignment with leadership perspective.
You're cheating a little bit. I saw him this morning, and I shared a story with him that just happened just yesterday, and so I was kind of commiserating a little bit. But yeah, priorities, right? Priorities for me is probably the biggest barrier to collaboration, all the way up to the CEO level, right? We're a small company right now. Everyone's involved in doing a lot of different things, and to the point in which, the squeakiest wheel gets the grease. And if that priority is the biggest, or if that customer is the biggest, it's kind of like all hands on deck, and collaboration just goes out the window. And in my world right now, that can be taken over in a single phone call, right? And the rest of the week or month can sometimes just go out the window based on what the highest priority is.
Well, yeah, important. So communication rose to the top from all of you as a key barrier to collaboration, cross-functional collaboration. I've certainly seen that in my roles. One of the challenges is all of the tools, right? When you look at a sales team, how many avenues of communication are coming at them every day? I mean, it's email, it's phone, it's text, it's Teams, and all of these more recent collaboration tools that we have that are almost disenabling collaboration because there's too many, and it's very difficult to rely on that. What about a DoorDash from a communication standpoint?
So I think at DoorDash, we do a really great job attempting to communicate. But raise your hand if you've ever been triple booked on your calendar. Yeah. So it's like we have these meetings, we have these executive steerco forums, and we invite all the right people to them. We've got product on the invite, we've got marketing on the invite, we've got our GTMT on the invite, but people can only be in one place at a time. So I think our communication sometimes breaks down just really based on that first one, misaligned goals and priorities. If I've got 3 different places that I need to be to learn about a change that's happening at the organization or something that's going to market, how do I prioritize and where do I really feel like I serve the greatest purpose? Where should my focus be? So I think the attempt to communicate is there, but a lot gets lost surely in the hustle.
Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of the teams I've been building, hey, here's what sales enablement is. I'm inviting myself to teams and calls and jumping in. So now I've got a larger team now. So now it's, hey, I can be on this, but I'm triple booked. I'm going to send my senior manager, and they are going to be your point person for this. And it's really matching individuals on my team that can try and run and collaborate with those folks, and then having them give me an executive summary so that I can roll that piece up. But I think as leaders within sales enablement, sometimes we'll get pulled into a lot of different things, and it's okay, who do we see as maybe our backfill or someone that is ready and able to take on more and can be that person. So then folks will come to me with things. I'm like, oh, go to Stephanie on that. Like, she's got that. She's running point on that. I'm happy to jump in where I need to, but she's going to be your person, so she'll be on that meeting and go there.
So, Robert, at a smaller organization, my mind would think that siloed teams would be less of a barrier, but communication probably remains.
Not true.
No? Okay. Tell us more.
No. Yeah. We still have a product team, and they are building, designing, rolling out, and communicating the new releases on a monthly, quarterly basis. Marketing still has their initiatives and their communication to customers and prospects and things like that they're rolling out. And sales is doing their own thing, but we're all kind of chugging along at our own pace with our own KPIs and our own goals. And as a result of that, we're not, even though we're small, like the communication still breaks down. And I know I've said it a couple times, so I hate to be a broken record. The time zones for us is actually probably one of the biggest barriers right now, because sometimes it's really easy to hop on the phone if someone is in Denver versus Miami or Texas or something like that. We sometimes end up missing weeks because there's only 2 or 3 hours a day that we could potentially get on the phone, unless we want to be on the phone at 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and that you just don't want to do that every day. The other thing that came to mind in terms of communication, I attended a lot of talks yesterday, and one comment was about creating content for sales reps and case studies and things like that don't get used, right? That seems to happen a lot. Salespeople saying, hey, I need something built. Oh, it's right there in this repository, right? That resonates with me a lot with common barriers, with collaboration, and the sales team feeling like they don't have what they need when in reality they do. Like, they have been equipped. They have been enabled.
Yeah, I can really empathize with the idea of time zones and those challenges. My time at Newell Brands, it was a global team. So, I mean, and that was EMEA to APAC, right? And so super challenging when you're dealing with that. Resistance to change. Did I see that pop up on the word cloud there? Amy, you were very passionate about change management.
Man, I have my entire sales leadership team speaking ADCAR, so this is a topic that's very close to my heart. I loved the discussion. I loved your session talking about change management yesterday. I think people are not resistant to change. People are resistant to failure. And failure comes when you don't take the time to change. And so the reason I'm so passionate about this topic is I do think it's one of the biggest things that sales enablement has an opportunity to impact across any size organization. We have to be the ones that say, wait, how does this impact our sales reps day to day? How does this impact how they're paid? What downstream impacts do we see on processes? Somebody has to be the one that says, wait, we need to have this conversation. And I think that's a big responsibility that we carry in our roles. So, yeah.
That resonates. Everything you said there resonates a lot with me. Like, people typically don't want to change because they're afraid. It's like, the way I'm doing it already works. Why would I want to change, right? There is someone mentioned it yesterday in another talk. There's a book called The Challenger Sale, and there's a methodology called Teach, Tailor, Take Control. Ever since I read that book years ago, I've just kind of adopted that, right? And if you can teach people why they should be doing something, and then you can tailor that conversation to them using ADCAR or whatever teaching methodology would resonate best with them, you as an enablement professional can then take control of the rollout of said change better and more effectively, so that they're less resistant.
Wow,
it's
imagine
the
that.
WIFM, right? The WIFM?
Yes.
The what's in it for me?
We have to
Yeah,
show
what-
that. Imagine that, though, using and applying a sales methodology to sales enablement.
We're all selling. We're all selling
That's
out
right.
here.
That's
But
right.
I think just to double down on the ADCAR discussion yesterday, the beauty is not just one piece of that. The beauty is starting early to drive awareness and making sure that you are actually following through the entire change to reinforcement. So again, people are not resistant to change, they're resistant to failure, and I just think we need to do a better job owning that responsibility.
Very good. Very good. One more to highlight on here, lack of clear process and ownership. It made me think of an example in my own history, the most recent company I worked for, where lead generation was owned by marketing. Typical, common, right, and or appropriate. The challenge was they didn't communicate their process to sales and to sales enablement, to my team. And so a big disconnect there. Additionally, they were using their own tools that were not connected to the CRM and these sort of things. So there was a big disconnect there, and it resulted in a lot of confusion to the sales team. Well, what do we do with these, right? How do I score these? Is it up to you? Is it up to me? What are the next steps, right? So a big challenge there to collaboration. Any other thoughts on process, ownership? All right, let's move on. We should go to our next question, which is, how do we overcome these? What are some thoughts to improve collaboration and overcome some of these barriers that we have spoken about? Let's go here back to Slido. Whoops. Yeah, let's pull up our Slido question there. There we go. So let's ask you. We want to ask you, what have you seen work well to improve collaboration between other functional teams? What are best practices? So look at this list and rank that. Pick one that's top of mind or important or a best practice to you. Okay, regular syncs, product demo days. Very good. Clear processes for lead management. Wow, just talked about that. All right, so I see improving communication through regular syncs and collaborative tools as sort of rising to the number one spot there. I'm not sure which of us had the strongest opinions on that.
I'll make a quick off the cuff comment. I think whether it's work, life, marriage, kids, anything like that, I think 99% of the time when there is a breakdown in something or a disagreement or confrontation, it's typically lack of communication. Someone's not understanding what you're trying to communicate. You didn't explain it in the right way for them to understand. So I'm not surprised that communication is probably the number one thing, and having to have regular syncs or communication or just a way to communicate.
There's two commitments that we make to our stakeholders across any line of business. It's we will commit to making our progress visible, and we commit to never letting bad news surprise you. And I think even if you boil communication down to some of the basics like that, to have regular connections where people know what to expect from you and from your team has been very helpful for us.
Excellent. What about establishing shared goals and KPIs? Do you have some perspective on that, Alyssa?
Yeah, I think with shared goals, again, at my Hologic currently, I report into marketing, so shared goals and getting with my VP of sales, it's, hey, what keeps you up at night? What are your biggest problems? And then anchoring to one of those problems and going full force with sales enablement efforts, that gets the WIFM, the buy-in. And then that also allows you to, maybe they have problems that, oh my gosh, I thought you'd never ask. Boom, 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 here's my problems. But then you can also through, if you've either sold the portfolio, if you're shadowing sales reps and the best sales reps and lower on the barrel sales reps, you can also educate them around, hey, I saw reactive here as a problem that we have with sales enablement, what if you're then able to identify a problem and a goal to your collaborative stakeholders and then proactively speak to and teach them how you're going to address that problem? So I think really sharing goals by finding their biggest issue, anchoring to that, and then being able to prove kind of the value of sales enablement there, that really ticks that with what's in it for me box. And then I think with those shared goals, I also like to make it really easy for my leaders to keep saying my messages. It's, hey, I don't want to be the sales enablement leader that's sending this stuff and doing this. I need this to come from the top of sales leadership. I've put together, made it really easy for you, put together a little blurb of the why, the what, the different things here. Edit this as you see fit, but I wanted to just give you a little start here. Send that to your sales leaders. Here's how we're going to reinforce it, because I don't want this message coming from me. We need to have reinforcement of those shared goals from our collaborative stakeholders, and for me, that's really been on our VP of sales and our sales leaders.
I think that's super interesting, and I think going back to my first comment when we started this about just the challenge with competing goals and competing priorities, forgive me, somebody spoke yesterday about the importance of like public prioritization processes in getting your cross-functional partners in a room to say, hey, we have limited bandwidth and limited capacity. So these are the things that we understand that we should be focused on, and these are the KPIs that we feel as if we need to be driving. Is everybody on the same page? And giving that group the opportunity to kind of duke it out a little bit and say, like, this is more important and here's why I think that's the case, and walking away from a forum like that with everybody stacking hands gives your team the confidence that, okay, like, we do have shared goals and KPIs.
I love that, and I unfortunately wasn't able to be here yesterday and missed that session. I will even take that a step further. I send a needs assessment to our sales reps. I'm not above bribes. I love to bribe. So we're very competitive in the med device space. I make it a regional competition. Whoever gets regional completion first of this self-assessed needs assessment gets, some kind of prize, whatever. But that is, hey, what knowledge, what skills, what barriers do you have to doing your day job? So we marry the business goals with these self-assessed needs gaps from our sales reps. So it's, hey, here's this course, here's this asset. Why did we create this course? Because you said that the number one issue that you're having with selling to different stakeholders in the hospital is understanding negotiations tactics. So I think publicizing what we're focusing on and what we're not. Here's our business goals. Here's how we're hitting our number. And then also, here's where our reps are saying that they're self-assessing their needs and knowledge gaps.
That's really good, Alyssa. It takes me back to one of our table exercises yesterday morning and the idea of data and the need for that data from those assessments and surveys to really drive our activities and direction.
Could have really used you two ladies at my last company.
You never know what the future holds.
Nice.
You couldn't afford me. Just kidding.
All right.
We do this job for love.
So number 3 there about clear processes, and we talked about some challenges there, and I think some of this is weaved into these responses, right? A lot of overlap here. But any other thoughts on how we define and roll out clear processes? When we think about sales process for our sellers, it's very clear many times in our tools, right? There's checklists and a very clear process that we would expect them to follow to equate to success with the sale. But what about when it comes to enablement?
I don't have a lot of advice here because we're still figuring this out. But I would say narrow your focus to like 3 processes that you would die on the hill of, and really focus on establishing those and educating your stakeholders and your cross-functional partners about the importance of following those processes. I think we can often get lost in the shuffle of feeling as if we should control and set processes around everything that occurs within a sales organization. And so I feel like as an enablement team, we're finding better success picking and choosing our battles a little bit. I don't know about you guys.
I just had an old memory pop up to answer this question. I don't know if anyone's done this in the past, but one of the companies I worked for, they actually wanted to roll out a new sales methodology, a new process, and what they did is they actually assigned it to the top sales rep at the company, and they wanted that top sales rep to own it and do it because they knew if it worked well for the number one sales rep at the company, the rest of the sales team would follow, right? So they found that the sales leader, the champion who's on the floor to adopt it, and almost kind of grassroots in a way, had them build a groundswell so the rest of the team saw, oh, if it's working for this guy or gal, heck yeah, I'm gonna do that too. And that ended up being a really effective strategy at that company.
Nice, nice. All right. Okay, let's move on to our next one. If we can go back to the slides. How should we leverage technology for better collaboration?
Okay, I'll take this.
Wait a minute. Someone told me this morning all we need to do is say AI. Blah, 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 AI. Our work is done. Yeah, Robert, you've got great perspective on this.
Yeah, I love technology. I've been in SaaS for 20 years and been exposed to a lot of technology companies. So I love tech, use it all the time. I guess quick show of hands is who's not using. Okay, remove like Copilot and ChatGPT. I think a lot of people are using that, Gemini. But like, who's not using AI for Sales Enable right now? Is there anybody in the room who's not using it? One? No, wow, no kidding. After the talks and all the conversations around AI, I just assumed everybody at this point was using it. But that's fine. But there are some really powerful and amazing tools out there. I'd say my biggest challenge, even though that's not the question, I'll answer the question. My biggest challenge with AI right now is there's so many products and services out there. It's the question I'm always asking myself is, like, which product should I be using? And which one is going to solve the problem I have right now? And that's kind of been the best way for me to figure out which ones to use because there's so many, and they all like overlap just a little bit. Every single one of them touches a certain piece of functionality that the other one has, but they have a handful of core competencies that are just stronger. So, I'm using technology and AI for buyer intent data. I've gone so far to actually use buyer intent data, and then after the meeting has been done, I've reached out to those prospects and actually asked them if the buyer intent data was real or accurate or not, and they said yes, it was. I was really skeptical of buyer intent data and not kind of thought it was foo-foo, kind of magical, like how are they actually getting this buyer intent data? And so I've done a little bit of like actual Q&A with some prospects to see if the buyer intent data was real, and it has been. There's a couple other really interesting products out there that I've dabbled with as well. Clay, anybody use Clay? That's a really powerful one. Chandler over there has used it. Another one is Ample Market. Has anyone ever used Ample Market or what is it, Chandler? Superhuman. Anybody use Superhuman? Wow, I'm shocked. No one's using these tools. So taking what some of these products do and how I'm leveraging AI is some of these products allow me to basically like if Sally is my prospect and I can actually go out there and have these tools scrape their LinkedIn page, scrape their buyer intent data, match it up with all of my marketing information, my case studies, and it will pre-craft custom messaging based on who they are, their persona, my company, all the case studies and marketing we have, and all I've got to do is tweak one or two words, and it's beautiful. It's super powerful. In terms of effectiveness and efficiency, it allows me and my team to be way more productive than, if I literally think back just 5 or 6 years, than before this technology was out there, just in terms of the ability to get stuff done and customize messaging that's good out there.
Well, I don't know where Sabina is, but it sounds like we have a session for the next Denver Summit.
It definitely should be, like a whole educational seminar on AI technology.
Yeah, Chris Ree could speak a lot to that too with some of the highlights that you made yesterday.
I mean, even if you're using, like, anybody using Fathom or any of these other AI recording, now I feel like there's a lot of great memes out there where you hop on a call and there's 5 people joining. There's 5 like AI things also. So there's 10 people on the phone call. Like that's AI as well. And there's some interesting things I've done from that perspective where I've actually taken 15 phone calls from an AI tool like that and then put them into something like ChatGPT And from a product perspective, this is interesting. I say, hey, what is the most common product question asked over these 15 phone calls? So it's analyzing 15 phone calls. What's the most common objection? What's the most common request? What's the most common anything, right? And it's not just one phone call because, that's not a lot of data. But if you can take multiple phone calls across an entire team, an entire quarter, and then give that back to your product team then knows what features are being most requested. Where are we lacking from a marketing perspective? Things like that.
So probably while you're the godfather of AI, I'm probably novice and dipping a toe into the water of AI. Where I've used it on collaboration, I think that's so interesting for insights. I've been pretty surprised and delighted for collaboration around creating content. So say we've got multiple one-pagers, cheat sheets, different things that we've collaborated with marketing for, in-person trainings, different assets there. Where I've really been interested in it is you can upload all of those different assets and, hey, how would I talk to, you can do it for different stakeholders and different buyer personas that you're doing. What I was really interested was, okay, cool, that's for a rep. Now I'm a coach. How are you coaching someone around these different steps within a sales process and doing things? Now take the role of a regional manager, and that's where I've been a little bit blown away in my still skeptical AI adoption. But I think it's a really powerful tool for either protecting your own time, content creation and generation probably is one of the largest time sucks for us enablers. And then I love multiple assets, being able to grab insights from that or summarize or utilize that, and then just very quickly transform that to who your audience is or who you're messaging that to as a seller has been really interesting.
As we've said up here, and as Amy said, it will be important to dig into this more, right? Especially as the collective. So we have a couple of minutes left. We wanted to we've already talked about probably some actionable takeaways here from this talk, but let's take some Q&A if there are any questions or comments from you out there.
Oh, Robert. Great question. There is pushback for sure in terms of even data and privacy and things like that. That's a big one, I think, for larger organizations. It's even harder for them to bring in tools like that because they have such bigger restrictions on data privacy. Yeah, we talked about that in preparation for this a little bit. So a lot of the products that I'm using are actually really low cost, and I'm actually allowed just to kind of trial them or demo them and start using them. And then what I've done is I have given demos to my leadership of what I've done with them, and they've been so impressed by it that they said, oh, yeah, just expense that. That's perfect. And it's kind of been a rounding error with some of these because they're, we're talking $10 a month, $30 a month, $50 a month. I think Ample Market, might be $6,000 or $10,000 or something like that. So you're still not breaking the bank with some of these tools.
If I come work for you, can I have your expense account?
Nice. What else? Podcast. Anyone big podcast listeners?
I really enjoy podcasts, and I've got field-based reps, so for just meeting reps where they're at and how they prefer to consume content, we do sales enablement podcasts. So hey, instead of hopping on and doing this stuff on the computer during your drive time, listen to some of this here. If you're a fan of the Challenger Sale, I really like, they've got a Challenger Sales Methodology podcast. I've kind of picked and chosen specific episodes there around negotiating with C-suite, really understanding that teach, tailor, take control. But I've been really pleasantly surprised with just a Spotify search around sales enablement. I feel like years ago, the word sales enablement would not generate any results, and now I've found a lot. So I've enjoyed the Challenger Sale podcast, and then I've now had a lot of success creating podcasts and pushing those to our sales reps.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you very much for your attention, and we were fortunate to be up here with you this morning, and I'm thankful for these three really smart people to my left. So enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.